The Disrupt Education vlog can be found on YouTube. To hear it in podcast form, search Disrupt Education on any of the following podcast platforms: Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Breaker, Castbox, Overcast, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Spotify, or Stitcher. Welcome to the Disrupt Education Podcast. I've got probably the best guest in the world. That is no disrespect to all my other guests. It's actually my own son. So, Hi, Henry. How are you?
I'm good.
We are actually two rooms in our house, so we decided just to do it like this for the podcast on the YouTube channel as well. So, so this is Student Voice Month. Obviously, Hank, tell everybody about where you are in school and like what do you do outside of school?
Well, right now I'm a junior in high school. So yeah, I'm at Riverside-Brookfield High School. Halfway through my junior year, so that's where I am right now. And outside of school, I like to work on my car and mess with computers and stuff. Those are two of the things that I'm really into.
You've got an old school car. Like when I was I wasn't a teen. I was just over 20 years old. Tell a little bit about the car and what is it about it that you've worked on so far?
Well, it's a 1993 Celica. And I haven't done a ton with it yet, just kind of doing maintenance and stuff, cleaning it up, or at least trying to, replacing broken stuff. I got some wheels for it, but they're not on it right now because it's winter, so they're just chilling in the basement. And then I've done, just small stuff just to kind of try to modernize it and make it a little nicer.
So you've actually kind of taught me actually how to do some brake pads and stuff like that. I wanted to ask you though, I know, but the audience doesn't know. How did you learn how to do all this stuff on the car? You've taken, we'll start in high school. You've taken a few classes. What were those classes? And then also how else do you learn how to do some of these generalized maintenance pieces? We did brakes and changed oil and such on the car. I did take auto tech freshman year in high school. And then last year I took auto tech 2, but that really wasn't that helpful because it was online mostly. And I actually was in school, but most of the other people in the class were online, so we couldn't really learn anything. But yeah, auto 1 was very helpful, especially just doing oil changes and stuff. That really helped. And then everything else has just been online, like YouTube videos and forums and stuff. It's a great place to learn how to do that kind of stuff. What kind of forums are you in as well? Like, I know everybody goes to YouTube and such, but what are some of the other places when you dive into forums that you're looking at?
There's just ToyotaCelicas.com is a great one. They have a ton of resources there. It's kind of dead. There aren't a lot of new posts, but a lot of the older stuff really helps. They take care of a lot of the common issues on the car. And then just like Reddit is a great one. Just if you need a quick answer for something, you just post it on there, and someone usually gets back to you pretty quick. So I'll use that a lot. And then I guess that's pretty much it. Just there's a lot of different resources just for Toyotas in general. For the engine and stuff, but I haven't really gotten into that.
Not quite yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. Do you? What's in it for the future for your car? What are some of the things like you're waiting to do? I know it's wintertime here. This is going out, in January. But what are some of the bigger plans that you have for this car and things that you hope to learn with it?
For spring break, my birthday is right before spring break. So I'm hoping to maybe get some parts for it then, maybe some coilovers. I want to detail it, try to fix up some of the body work because it needs a little bit of work. Get the paint polished and everything, and then just get all the parts I have for it on over spring break to kind of get it into summer mode, I guess. Because right now it's pretty much stock. It's in winter mode.
Let's pivot over then to computers, right? So the computer I'm working on right now, everything that you
that you see here on YouTube, you hear, all of this was built by you. And the computer that you're on also, and everything, you know, from headphones and to audio equipment and whatnot, was built by you as well. Talk a little bit about that. Like, how did you get into building computers, and what is that like? Why do you like that?
So really it was in, you know, 2016, 2017-ish. I've always been really into cars, and that kind of led into it because I discovered a game that's called BeamNG Drive. And it's like a great vehicle sandbox. And at the time I only had an Xbox, and it's only on PC. So really that was the big motivator to kind of get into it. And so I asked for a laptop for Christmas of 2017. And then not too long after, realized that probably wasn't what I needed. It really wasn't powerful enough to play the game. So the year after that, I really got into looking at custom computers and how to build them. I did that. I looked up a guide on YouTube and asked for all the parts for Christmas and did that. So
all that was YouTube. Did you use any more? Did you go back on forums as well?
Not really. Honestly, I didn't really. I wasn't as tech savvy as I was. So I really just went to, you know, best $1,000 computer guide on YouTube and clicked on the first thing and ordered all the parts that way. So I guess that's a decent way to do it if you're starting out, but I've definitely made some improvements since then.
Were there any mistakes in your building? And did you like order wrong pieces or something that didn't fit or something like that you can remember?
Nothing like that. I remember the cooler that was in the original guide was out of stock. So I literally just ordered the next thing that Amazon recommended me, and it ended up fitting, luckily. But then when I was building it, I installed the power button wrong. So I couldn't turn the computer on. And I convinced myself that I had bricked the motherboard by doing something wrong. And so for 2 days, the thing just sat in my room dead. So I finally figured out that it was the power switch that was not working. So that was kind of a learning experience.
For the listeners, bricked your motherboard means you basically blew it up. It not working. Is that what it means?
Yeah, what it basically meant, I'd need to order another, you know, $120 part and rebuild the entire computer. And I didn't want to do that. So
yeah, you walked away for a little bit and looked at that a couple of days later. What did that feel like when you're like, wait a minute, this is what I did wrong?
It was nice. Yeah, it was good to get it up and running and have that all working. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's a $120 decision, right? So if you put the monetary pieces on it. So you also this year have, and I'm super proud, Dad, here saying this, but you went out and you looked at different places of employment. You got into a role right now that has to do with what you're interested in. Tell us a little bit about that journey.
Well, I guess we could start with last summer. I had a job as a custodian at the local elementary school. And that was kind of my first job. You know, it was kind of an easy thing, working with 6 other guys, just hanging out all day pretty much. And then after the summer ended, I just kind of focused on school for the most part. But then I kind of ran out of money because I got to pay for insurance and car stuff. So I just started applying around, and you know, I've always liked computers, or at least I have for the past few years. So I applied at Micro Center, which is a computer retail store near us. And I got it. After a few weeks, I got the job, got an interview, and yeah, I work there now.
And you're enjoying that, I hope, while making some money.
Yeah.
So let's shift gears here. One of the coolest things that we did back in the day was a father-son car chats, right? That actually still exists out there. I'll put a link in the notes. I don't know how many we did. We did a lot of those talking about cars.
Over 50, I think. It was a lot.
Yeah. And that's just a hint that I'd love to get back into that, but we'll see your time frames. But you know, you've continued with that and learning and building. And you've also built or starting to build a portfolio on SpikeView. And also taking a look at, you know, when you were applying for a job in building that portfolio, what were some of the things that stuck out like to you or that you kind of like learned about yourself?
A lot of the stuff I've done has value and stuff that might seem easy to me just because I've been doing it for so long is
is valuable to other people. Like, yeah, I mean, especially like helping people out with computers. I've done a lot of that. It makes you realize that the stuff that I've learned over the past few years, which might seem inconsequential to me, is actually pretty valuable to other people. And that speaks true to employers too, I guess, especially getting the job at Micro Center. I think knowing a lot about computers helps a lot, both in me getting hired and then just working there day to day, selling stuff to people. It helps. So
it's nothing like getting paid to see the latest and greatest going across, right? So
yeah. Well, and then, you wish you could have some of that for yourself. You see a $2,000 graphics card getting sold. It's like, oh man.
But you get to see it and you get to experience it. You get the job pieces of that, which again, proud father moment here. But let's go into the disrupt education question then. We've kind of encouraged you to do a couple of things differently in school, and I'm hoping they work out because I know there's a certain path that a lot of people go. But tell us a little bit about like your high school path. How many freshmen, first off, were in that auto course that you took your freshman year?
It was like 3.
Yeah,
it's not a super common class for freshmen. It was a lot of seniors. I think seniors that had taken it before and just like the teacher, and so yeah, it was pretty cool. I had a couple friends in the class, so that was good. It was a good experience. But.
So go through like that. Like that's kind of obviously, there's a couple thousand students at the high school or close to, and you're one of 3 as a freshman taking a course like that. What talk a little bit about your high school path so far, going through. What are some of the classes that you've taken? What are some of the classes you've enjoyed? And what have you learned from them, both mainstream and electives?
Well, I've taken a ton of just fine arts classes, like drawing and painting, and I'm taking ceramics right now, which is really fun. Just kind of working with my hands and stuff like that. But then also a lot of graphic arts. Like I've taken a couple graphic arts class, a game design class. Really working on computers is also really nice. And then, obviously the auto tech. I'm trying to think what else. I think that's about it.
Don't forget that culinary in there, right?
Oh, yeah. 2 culinary classes last semester, which was really fun. So, yeah, and then mainstream, it's been pretty normal, just like algebra and geometry and stuff for math and regular English.
And next year, you've already signed up for, or have you? You've signed up for classes for next year already, right?
Yeah.
What does your senior year look like?
Pretty normal, I guess you could say. I'm taking a 4th year of math and science, just because I guess why not? Though you don't have to in Illinois, at least. And then just an English class. I'm trying to think of what electives. I'm taking a studio music, which is going to be fun, kind of learning how to mix music on a computer, which will be useful because I've kind of wanted to get into that for a little while too. It's always been kind of an interest that I've had. I'm trying to think what else. I can't really remember off the top of my head. Usually I just kind of pick the classes and forget about it. But
well, let's jump in though, because you are doing something very interesting to me, and actually your mother is, you jumped into an AP stats course, and you haven't really taken an AP course before, correct?
Yeah.
So why?
I wanted to take a 4th year of math and science, and I'm taking pre-calculus this year, and I don't really like it. It's not super fun to learn. Like geometry was online, so that was kind of different. And algebra, I took like 4 years of that, so it was pretty easy. So I guess it's just, I don't know. I'm just not a fan of calculus, and AP stats was really the only other option to take. I think there was one like really low level math class that I could have taken, but it wouldn't have really, like, I would have been better off not taking it. So yeah, I just figured stat was kind of the only other option, and I've always kind of liked stats. We took a stat unit this year, and I did pretty well in it. So
Yeah, useful. It is very useful because that was a left curve for me anyway. I was like, wow, he's jumping into this, and you can start to. I feel like you're building confidence, which is really cool, and understanding. You have an understanding of what you're good at and how you can build on it. But with that being said, so I'm going to jump into the big disrupt education question, right? Like, so you have the power right now to change up education, what the day looks like, what the year looks like, what classes you can take, what it looks like post high school. What are one or two big things that you could see that if you had the power that you would change in education? And again, I'm your dad, so you can say whatever you want. You don't have to, prove to me anything, because we're proud of you and know what you do. But yeah, what are, through your experiences, what would you like to see changed? What would you like people to change even post pandemic?
I think longer class periods is a big thing, especially for electives, because there's so much stuff that we could have done that was limited by class period, like especially in culinary last semester, just the recipes that we could make. We really couldn't make a lot of things just because of the limit of the class time. So that's a huge one. I'd love to start school later. I know that's kind of a common thing, but getting up in the morning, especially first and second period, always just feels like you're never really at 100%. So that always kind of, and then, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I don't hate the way that school is set up now, in terms of like the way that classes are, and the balance of, electives to the regular classes. I think that feels pretty good. And that might just be this year because I've got, a study hall and it's pretty easy. But I just think, yeah, longer class periods, or maybe an extra, like maybe you do 4 days a week of, or 3 days a week of regular classes, and then 2 days a week of just electives. That would be kind of cool. Have something like that where you can have more time, kind of working with stuff that you want to do instead of just doing school stuff. So that'd be cool.
So you just to let the audience know, you're on a 7-period day. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's a 7-period day with a lunch in the middle.
Okay, so each one of your periods are around 50 minutes or so.
So yeah, it's 55 minutes. I think first period might be 50, and then on a shortened schedule, it gets really weird. It's like 40 minutes per class for 3 of the classes, and then the rest are still 55.
Because it
gets kind of messed up, but that's mostly because of COVID, because they had to increase the number of lunches.
Right.
So,
okay. So, what I'm hearing you say is, with class time, either a block schedule, like where you have 4 classes a day at an hour and a half, or what they call a modified block schedule, where you have 3 days or 4 days of the week. Sound like you said 3 days of the week that are normal, and then the 2 days. They could be like 3 days of regular, like mainstream courses, and then 2 days of full out, like it's kind of like elective time or something like that. Or just like, those 2 days would be block schedules, so where you can do some different things with that. Does that sound about right? Does that sound like it?
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, even doing that where you get out at 1:30 or 2, but you still have more class time per week in every class, because you've got that, like, maybe not in every, like, just kind of figure out a way to do that where you can kind of maximize the time in every class, but still not keep students for too long. Because I feel like especially the 7-hour day gets kind of long sometimes if you don't have a schedule that's set up for it.
Got it. How about like outside of school? Would you like more like work program? What kind of things like would you like to have outside of school that would maybe count for school? Would you like your job to count for education, or does that not matter to you?
It honestly, it doesn't really matter. Because I mean, the job is going to count, especially in the future for resumes and stuff. I think that's where it really counts towards. And I would love extracurricular stuff to count towards school. If you could maybe take an elective as like an after school club, and that would still count as a credit, that would be cool. just as an optional thing. Or, I mean, summer school is always there, but it's really just to make up failed classes. They don't really offer. I think they offer one health class that you can take if you don't want to take that during the year, but it's pretty limited. So yeah, that would be cool. Or just having like, I don't know. It feels like school and personal and job life are very, very separated. And in some ways that's good, but some ways that can be kind of, I don't know. It's weird.
Do you feel like that should be like a little more integrated? Would you like to say, hey, go, like if you have a job, I mean, you have stats actually in your job because you have to sell X amount of something in those percentages.
Yeah. It's very basic, but yeah.
Right. That's interesting. All right. So my last question to you then is, obviously your sister is going into high school next year. We just did her 8th grade into freshman year night. But beyond just her, if you could go back and talk to yourself your freshman year, or give advice to somebody coming into high school to make the most of a system that, you know, could be improved, but isn't all that bad. What kind of advice would you give them?
I would say don't overwhelm yourself. Don't be the person that takes, 4 AP classes in sophomore year and then has to deal with that. It really doesn't matter a ton. And I mean, they make it seem like it does, but it's really not worth it, especially if it's going to affect your mental health. And for me, freshman year really feels like middle school because I had that huge separation with COVID in sophomore year, just being out of school and at home for pretty much the whole year. But yeah, just don't overwhelm yourself, I guess. It can be pretty overwhelming. Just kind of stick with what you know and who you are.
How would you tell somebody in high school to help them figure out who they are and their strengths?
If you like something, then expand on it. Don't ignore it. If you find something that you like and your friends don't like it, or it's not going to be, just go with it. Because if you try to force yourself to do things that you're not going to like, you're just going to be miserable. Like next year, if I forced myself to do calculus, I don't think I would have liked it. Just based on how pre-calc is going this year. And I didn't want to do that. So I didn't. So you really just have to be confident with your choices. And if all your friends are taking a class and you don't want to take that class, then don't take it. Don't make that, don't waste that time. Just because they're doing it. High school is more of a time to figure out what you like, I guess. Middle school is really, it's different. It might not seem like it at first, but it's pretty different. That's
great advice, man. I'm humbled. Inside, I'm like cheering you on because you're my son, so I appreciate it. Overall, thank you, Hank, for sharing your journey with the audience here. I know a lot of this. It's kind of weird. You're like, Dad, you know this, but honestly, I really do appreciate it. The listeners are going to appreciate hearing that, and thanks for hanging out with me on Disrupt Education.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for having me.
All right. And for everybody else, thank you so much for listening. We appreciate you. Leave a comment, a remark, a rating, and hopefully you'll subscribe to the podcast. We'll talk to you next time on Disrupt Education.